Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, thank you, honorable members. I rise to support the budget for 2025 for Guyana as presented by the Honorable 𝐁𝐔𝐃𝐆𝐄𝐓 and the Cabinet and the President Irfan Ali, a budget intended to continue the dramatic transformation of Guyana in this special moment that Guyana is in. Mr. Speaker, for some of us who are older, the Honourable Member, Mr. Ramjatan, 54 years in Parliament, and myself. Oh, it's 34. For persons of our age, Mr. Ramjatan and us, this moment should be special. It will not happen in our lifetimes again. This transformative moment in the history of our country will not happen again. And I recall, Mr. Speaker, when we said we had found the oil, it was called an elections gimmick. An elections gimmick. And now that this gimmick is on us, now that the monies are flowing into the country, people are upset, people are angry, people are helpless and hopeless about the fact that this gimmick is a real thing. That the people of Guyana could, for the first time in generations, in decades, be at a point where they could see the way forward to progress, peace, and prosperity. Mr. Speaker, the honourable member stood up here before me in this honourable house, and he talked about this development mirage. Well, I can't expect him to see any better based on his infirmities otherwise. A development mirage. There are some people, mostly on that side, and some in the social media and in some parts of the press, who walk on the roads, drive on the roads, go into the new schools, see new prisons, new police stations, new fire stations, and all of those things in reality. And will come here and say, it's a mirage. Mr. Speaker, the honourable member taken the high road in terms of speaking on the budget, and I want to compliment the honourable member, Ms. Geeta Chandan Edmond, on her presentation. And perhaps I know she doesn't have a place at Sophia anymore. Perhaps, but Mr. Speaker, I would have expected more depth, charity even, from whatever number of years. Mr. Speaker, simple things which I think I have to respond to. The honourable member, who was a vice president in the previous government, sat in on all the decisions, was party to it, was an advocate of those decisions which destroyed sugar on the quarantine in Berbice. 7,000 workers went home, and by extension, 35,000 people did not have sustenance and livelihood. And then they come here and talk about empty houses and the quarantine in Berbice. The honourable member, Kemraj Ramtatan, was in on the decisions Which vice president in on the decisions, or he did nothing about it when they encouraged the blocking of the river at Berbice and killed the work in the bauxite at Hururu, at Kurubuka, at Kokwani, at Aichuni. The honorable former vice president was in on those decisions. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member Kamrat Rambutan was in on the decisions and the discussions, or maybe he was completely hapless. He was just somebody sitting there with no influence and power. But when they took out the Because We Care cash grant from the Picnic Mountain hands, he was in on the decisions. And he comes here and carries on and he wants people to be there. I could go on and on. I could go on and on. The honorable member Ram Jatan and others of his ilk. And when we speak of hypocrisy,
hypocrisy is an unparliamentary word.
Yes, honorable member, you should know better.
Mr. Speaker, I want to withdraw the word hypocrite. Hypocrisy. Because I was trying to characterize the fact that somehow I still think that he knew when those things were happening that it was wrong. But he still went along with them. Still went along with them. And look, appeals a constituency he thinks he has on the Quarantine Coast and tries to continue to confuse and kerfuffle people with high-flown language and expressions. Mr. Speaker, this honorable member met me downstairs when we had the long recount. And he said he knew nothing about the ballot statements, that he wasn't in on it, that the APNU were those who knew everything about it. And he, as a leader of a party, knew nothing about it. A significant partner in a significant coalition partner. He told me downstairs there, I marked the spot. He said he knew nothing about it. And up to today, he is sitting here, a vice president. Of course, others have flown the coop. Former vice president. There's no apology from him and others about the attempted theft of our democracy. There's no apology from them. There's no apologies from them for the embarrassment and shame we had in relation to the elections of 2020. And Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I should not be attempting to reply to all of the things which the Honorable Member Ramjatan spoke of. I want to tell him a personal story. That there was a time when I was going to school that I used to plant bora, bygone, pak choy, and tomatoes and sell them at Border Green. And I think the time has now come where the honorable member should do the same. If he is concerned about the price of bora and tomato in the market, he should encourage people to go and plant it so the prices can come down gradually. I could show you a thing or two about the planting and selling of those things. plant more, grow more. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the honorable gentleman has no really interest in encouraging Guyanese people to develop themselves. The honorable member has no real interest in seeing that people live better and safer and have more evolved lives. The honorable member, like others on that side, except for Ms. Chandon Edmond, have no real interest. They want to spoil. They're spoilers. And Mr. Ramjitan, the honorable member, snarls and scowls from that side. And I think he must be mad. Mr. Speaker, I will call some numbers from the GRA in relation to the mirage of development that the honorable member has been talking about. The honorable member, I'd like to point out to the honorable member that in 2014, Mr. Speaker, the honorable member, I want to point out to him, in 2014 there were 6,347 cars registered with the GRA. In 2017, in their time, the numbers dropped by minus 55% to 3,481 cars. In 2023, now, recently, the most recent numbers we have, 15,864 cars are registered in Guyana, an increase of 455% over the 2017 numbers. Mr. Speaker, for all significant types of vehicles, I want to display the mirage. In 2014, there were 12,934 vehicles of significant types: cars, lorries, excavators, graders, minibuses, pickups, tractors. I could give the details. 12,934. In 2017, there were registered 8,810 of those vehicles, a decline of 60+%. Mr. Speaker, today, the number of vehicles of the similar kinds which I quoted on are 31,266, an increase of 355% over the 2017 numbers. That is the mirage I want to clean your eyes. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, this budget, which speaks to making safe Guyana, improving safety and security as a function of protecting our development, protecting our country, is very, very significant, pivotal, and transformative. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak to the purpose of the Parliament in relation to us all being here again today. In many ways, we've joined at the hip in the effort of national development. We might even be married in the cause of making Guyana develop. It could be thought of that. We could even be considered as cellmates in relation to figuring out, working out, and trapping ourselves sometimes in relation to pushing the cause of Guyana's development. A development which is long overdue and which is being put in reality at the moment. Mr. Speaker, I want to point out some of the issues that we have in relation to the question of development and security. We have, sir, in terms of a specific issue, amongst the highest murder rates in the region. And this rate is tied to the question of transnational organized crime. There is no more the challenges which we have in relation to choke and robs simply, but the nature of crime has changed, and what we are responding to is issues mostly related to transnational organized crime. Of course, there are the questions of youth crime, there are questions of the poverty which still exists and which we're working hard to overcome, but there are issues which we need to pay attention to when we talk about crime. And with some specificity, we have a murder rate of 22 per 100,000. There are other countries where the murder rate is much higher. Jamaica, El Salvador, Trinidad and Tobago, Turks and Caicos Islands, which have significantly higher murder rates. We are aware, and if we refer to the Regional Symposium of Crime and Violence as a public health issue, which will held from November 21 to 23rd in Guyana, there was the discussion at the level of the CARICOM Secretariat and heads as to how to work together on the question of crime, transnational organized crime. I hasten to say that the type of crime is not related to Guyana specifically in itself, but it comes about as a function of drug trade. It functions and results because of the arms trafficking, which relates to the matter. It has to do with the money laundering, which is related to the matter. It has to do with the trafficking in persons in respect of the matter. And it behooves us to find together the type of consultations, discussions, and responses and attitudes, and in some cases to stop the whispering which goes on in relation to what is happening on the question of crime. We have had over the past year a reduction in serious crime by 12.2%. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member Ramjatan speaks of police stations that we're building. He speaks, I'd like to know how many built in his time. Right now, tell us how many new police stations that you built.
None.
or new infrastructure for the police that you built, or new vehicles that you got for the police in respect of improving crime and security. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member Ramjatan speaks of the prison. Mr. Speaker, I want to tell the honorable gentleman I would be happy to accommodate him at one of the new prisons that we have, either at Mazaruni, at Lusiknan, at New Amsterdam, for emphasis, and at Timeri. Because in other circumstances, these people on the other side wouldn't be here. They'll be well ensconced in the prison. And Ramjatan cannot say that he was not aware of the work of the malignancy against our Constitution, which resulted in the attempted theft of our democracy in 2020. So let's keep that as an open issue and an open question. The Honorable Member Ramjatan spoke about the prison. When myself and Minister Frank Anthony visited the prison, I asked him to come there. The COVID was on, and we were very worried because there were men sleeping on the tents, open air, open to the weather, sleeping in shifts, sleeping double-deck in hammocks above and mattresses below, and sleeping in shifts. The Honorable Member Ramjatan, I believe, never visited that prison as far as I'm aware.
Never. Never.
The Honorable Member Ramjatan presided over the destruction of the prisons in Georgetown, at Camp Street, and in the prison at Lusiknan. He presided over that and built some things worse than chicken pens for the men to sleep under.
How many persons died? Tell them how many persons died. 17 persons died.
The most jailbreaks, the most fires, the most depredation, the most rapes in the prison occurred under his watch. And he comes here to tell us about the prisons. Shameless, not hypocrisy.
Honorable Minister, your clock is running, and you just used 2 words I don't allow. Please.
Mr. Speaker, I ask that the honourable member be granted an extension of 5 minutes.
Sorry, PM. His clock is running, but he didn't run out of time as yet.
Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member wants me to respond to every specific that he said here. The Honourable Member, the Honourable Member made infamous statements here in the Parliament. I would like to point out to him that yes, we're building new police stations. That yes, we have to build a new police station at Brickdam, a new modern building edifice, because I won't describe how I found some of the police barracks when we took over. But the Criminal Investigation Department building was in the state of collapse, amongst many others. We've had to move them out. We're moving and we're building a new criminal investigation department. We're building a new police station at Brickdam. And I'm sure with the intention of the police service to improve their efficiency, their integrity, and yes, of course, to deal with issues of corruption, which is public knowledge at various levels, that on parliamentary, I withdraw, lack of integrity. Mr. Speaker,
Anytime you say corruption, you're looking at a mirror.
Mr. Speaker, the honorable member knows how to look at a mirror.
Corruption, you got to face it, tell anybody you're being corrupt. Look at you.
Mr. Speaker, I pointed out that we've had a decrease of 12.2% in relation to serious crimes, that we've had a number of 624 cases, and the clear-up rate is 50.5%, much larger than when we took over, when the rates were at the level of 19 or so percent. Mr. Speaker, the firearms seized by the police force over the years, and particularly over last year, were 178, making a big dent in relation to those who will want to carry on activities using firearms to commit crime. The Honorable Member Ramjatan spoke about domestic violence. We have had reports of 1,535 cases of domestic violence in 2024, and 911 cases were made, and there were 167 convictions, which is a steep increase from previous years. In relation to narcotics seizure by the Guyana Police Force, there has been 1,463 seizures, 581 reports, 379 cases, and 77 convictions. In relation to questions of trafficking in persons, there were 31 reports and 6 cases. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak some of the supposedly mirage police stations and buildings which are being made, are completed in 2024. The Nansel Police Station, Monkey Mountain Police Station, if you want to talk about the footprint, and the hinterland. Breedenhoop Police Station, Mocha Police Station, Sparnam Police Station, Letton Police Station, Anai Police Station, Barmita Police Station, Imbamalai Police Station, Rose Hall Police Station, Tushen Police Station, Ettringban Police Station, Karasabai Police Station, Rhineville Police Station, Providence Police Station, Charity Police Station, Yarkita Police Station, Kamrang Police Station, Kurpung Police Station, 𝐃𝐄𝐁 Police Station. And the honorable member stands up here and talks about footprint and hinterland and interior locations. Mr. Speaker, there has also been a large expense in respect of vehicles. $262 million invested, including drones, Hilux vehicles, 15, ATVs, double shocks for the interior, Isuzu 5-ton flatbeds, motorcycles, and a long list of equipment delivered to the Guyana Police Force in relation to supporting crime fighting, interdiction in relation to crime, heightening response in their responsiveness in relation to crime, and those activities. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member Thank you, Mr. Maifal, for giving some insights there. Mr. Speaker, in relation to the Guyana Prison Service, there has been a tremendous increase in the facilities. There has been a significant effort to enhancing security measures at the prison to prevent escapes. We have been working at modernization of the operating procedures. We have worked at improving the training and the psychological readiness both of the prisoners and of the officers. The Honourable Member Ramdatan spoke about the prison. I could advise him that we have built a prison school at 𝐁𝐔𝐃𝐆𝐄. I could advise him that we have established vocational sections for prisoners at 𝐁𝐶𝐃. I could advise him that we have for prisoners a fresh start program that, having been trained in the prison according to their vocational interests, that they will be able to leave the prison, be kitted out rather, with equipment and the means to start businesses to support themselves and their families when they leave the prison.
Honorable Member, I can now advise the Prime Minister to move your extension.
Mr. Speaker, I ask that the Honourable Member be granted an extension of 5 minutes.
Honorable Member, you may continue for 5 minutes to conclude.
Mr. Speaker, for the fire service, we have reconstructed the Leonora Fire Station. We have constructed a new fire headquarters in Georgetown on home stretch. We have constructed a new fire station at Wales. We have done Eccles Fire Station. Mr. Speaker, we have just bought and are distributing to the NDCs to deal with the issues of fire to the NDCs all over the country. We are acquiring more of the hydraulic platforms. We have acquired more water bowsers. We have worked with Angloco to acquire more ambulances, minibuses, and to support the important work not only of the fire service but also of its ambulance service, which has done tremendous work. We are getting another fire boat, new water bowsers, and we anticipate that the responsiveness and the capability, along with the fact that we have graduated new firefighters, that the performance will increase substantially, and along with the effort of bringing greater public awareness to the dangers of fires to persons, that we should be able to see a reduction in the numbers of fires in the country. Mr. Speaker, we continue to install hydrants, doing servicing to those, and bringing to schools and to facilities, and by ways of inspections of governments and private businesses, the question of higher awareness in relation to the question of the dangers of fire. Mr. Speaker, I want to point out of particular interest is the fight we have against drug trafficking. The Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit made the significant seizure of over 4,000 kilograms, a significant or the highest signature of cocaine seized in our country over the years. The Guyana Police Force also seized, after discovering particular types of submersible vessels, 3 vessels which were being intended for use for drug trafficking. we point out that we are victims of the overall drug question. We are not the users of drugs. We are not the marketplace for the drugs. We are transit points. And the fact that the drug trafficking activity, criminality, brings tremendous pressures in relation to the security sphere, we will continue to fight. We're putting more money into this effort, and we are working at continuing to bring down the planes and to make the necessary seizures to deal with this nefarious business. Of course, Mr. Speaker, we have the existential threat on the question of our sovereignty from Venezuela. We note the disruption and the other confusions, particularly recently in a place called Catatumbo in Venezuela, Colombia, between the FARC and the ELN, and we pay note, special note, and we do have border surveillance, not only at the level of the army and the police, but also at the level of the community policing groups, which are also being supported and beefed up in relation to the efforts in terms of border surveillance, intelligence gathering, and interdiction in relating to smuggling, trafficking in persons, and other criminal activities. For the police force, for all of our services, we speak now of pushing forward the ideas encapsulated in the mission of the ministry of increasing the peace in Guyana. Increasing peace in Guyana. And increasing peace in Guyana may only come about when we have broad-based parliamentary support on this issue.
That would be a good point to start winding down. Thank you, Honorable Minister. And now for the Honorable Member, Mr. Sherwin Holder.